We're going to be using thermal imaging. So can you see that in there?
Yeah.
You see me in there, right?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm the red, orange, and yellow guy. So we're literally looking for what? What do you think?
Red, orange, and
No.
yellow.
Red, orange, and yellow is warm.
Oh, so cold. Blue.
Cold, right.
Blue and green.
Blue and black.
Oh.
Okay.
Blue and black.
Also.
So the way this is set up, this is a thermal imaging camera. So this is what firemen use to actually help save people. Like, this is the real deal. So again, I didn't want to go with some phony app that you guys all download and like, oh, I got one of those. No, you don't. It's just one of those. The cool thing about the way I have this set up is there's a blue dot bouncing around the screen, and that's going to show us where the coldest spot is in the frame at that particular moment. So again, when you're watching your video, because you're going to get the full video back, you're going to have a little bit of help kind of going through it. Now, Andrew, this one's actually going to go to you, man. So yeah, you're going to be able to hopefully see some cold spots for us. If nothing else, this will keep them very, very occupied because some of the history can get a little long. So you're going to keep that camera horizontal this way, exactly the way you're holding it, only your fingers are right in front of the camera, so we can't see anything right now. So if you hold it like this, you can just treat it just like a cell phone. So you want to hold it up here. Never, like this guy over here is just kind of, it's plugged in, so you don't want to hold it by that. So that way you get to see everything. Got it now?
Okay, yeah.
So I'll kind of give you the cues of when to start and stop with that guy.
So,
Yeah.
There you go.
no,
Everything's
I'm
insured.
do it
He's good.
like this.
Okay.
And it's a construction phone. He can't hurt it. So even if he drops it, it's perfect. So I know you both look a little worried right now.
You might
but
want to find some wood and knock on it.
Can I throw it on the ground?
no, we don't want to like intimidate it. So
Your job is to find ghosts in there.
I know, right?
You have to look for dark spots. Okay.
Alright, so we're going to be using two different spirit boxes tonight. So spirit boxes are a way for us to communicate with the dead, which you guys already do that from your TV shows. It's usually the white noise that they do. So
Do they get stuff often?
we're going to
Let him do his spiel, okay?
we're actually going to be doing that in real time, but the BS that they're giving you on TV, all the disembodied voices that they're claiming to hear are actually pretty rare to come by. So, yeah, we're actually using a different method with these spirit boxes. What we're doing is we've slowed them down as slow as we can possibly make them. It's still going to go through every single radio station, allowing the radio chatter to go through. So even when you're listening to this, you're going to hear song lyrics and DJs and commercials. I want to know what those things say. If you hear buy a Ford Ranger today, I want to know that you've heard buy a Ford Ranger today from a commercial. So again, because it's a matter of that word Ranger could be relative to the space that we're in, and that's what you were meant to hear at that particular time. And even if you have a hard time listening to this, because you're going to have an earbud in, you're going to be the only one to hear it in real time unless you give the other earbud to somebody else. If you have a hard time, this is recording everything. So just as far as the radio sweep goes, you can mess with the volume all you want to. It's not going to mess up the recording. I'm going to spot check it tomorrow morning, and I'll also be writing down everything he hears in real time. So that way you guys have the notes in real time, plus my spot check from tomorrow morning. So you get to keep the earbuds. If the earwax is gross, I don't want it back. You're going to have to undo the twist tie here, and then there's the volume button right here at the top. It's the wheel. So I'm going to make sure it's turned all the way down. So pop an earbud in and get used to where that volume is. And again, you're going to be the only one to hear it until we're going from space to space. So that way somebody else can actually listen to it.
So I'm guessing me and Ethan need to work together a lot.
All of you will need to be working together a lot.
Okay.
That's the whole point of this. Even when I have other people here, I need everybody to work together. And I'm kind of just the ringleader. I'm going to be bouncing around.
I was thinking, like, I can see something, then Ethan can put the spirit box down.
Actually, yours is going to coincide with that. So a little bit more, and I'll explain that in a minute. This one is going to replace an obelisk that you guys would normally see on TV, where it gives you the words in the middle of its screen. The reason why I use this instead, this has 5 times the amount of terms and phrases in it than an obelisk, which is actually meant for ghost hunting. There's 9,000 words in this thing's dictionary, and it will give us something from time to time in the center of the screen. So the cool thing about that is it saves them all to a list. So, and they all have timestamps, so I know where to listen to the spirit box, where to watch the video, so forth and so on. Last night they actually had 82 terms. That's slightly higher than normal. Normally for 2 hours is about 75 terms. So 80% of this is going to be garbage because this is a phone app. It's the other 20% that's going to be relevant to our location. In the event something's relevant to where we are, I'll obviously give you a link to be able to verify the information. Same thing when I give you my spot check on that guy. If I hear a specific name or year or something along those lines, there'll be a link for you guys to verify everything that I'm going to claim as evidence. I don't want to see every word that pops up. I will come to you when I want to see the list, because again, we'll be out here till 4 in the morning.
So it's going to pop up words?
randomly.
Okay.
Again, the game we're playing with this guy, is it coming from the app or is it coming from the ghost? And there's going to be some things that are going to be so specific
Then how do you differentiate whether it's coming from the app?
Depending on
based on where we
we're
are.
at,
Exactly.
What if it's like
if it pertains to it.
I?
You let him finish.
Wait,
his-
okay,
let him
never
finish.
mind.
He's good. What's his
It was
question?
a dumb question.
No,
I
it's
feel
not.
No? What do you got?
So, do you want more specific, or do you
Yes.
want? Okay.
We want ghosts to be here. That's the
Okay.
whole point of why we're out here. We don't want to scare them off. So, you're going to be kind of keeping tabs on everybody's stuff with this guy. Basically, you guys have seen the blinking light EMF detectors on TV. They use those because they're super sensitive and they only go to 25 milligauss. This one I've seen go over 200. So this one is going to be way more specific, but anything above 2.5 on your big numbers, I want to know what's going on. We're going to debunk a lot of things first, parking meters,
So like
electrical wires.
EMF?
Right.
So
Any-
this is, okay, electromagnetic frequency.
Exactly. It has 3 different functions. The bottom number is ambient temperature. Andrew's camera finds something, you and I can debunk it or prove it with the yellow probe at the top. It's measuring the air around it as far as temperature goes.
Okay.
The last thing that it has a REM pod built into it. It's basically a motion sensor. So if something gets close to the antenna, it's going to go off. I'm not touching it. I'm touching it now. So again, there's a whole array of colors and different ranges in there that we'll talk about at the first location that we'll use that. But for now, just kind of get used to how the red screen moves around. And that way, anything above 2.5 on your big numbers is really what we're
Okay,
after.
and then on the bottom, am I looking for?
We'll use that at the ready in the event that Andrew finds something on his camera.
I,
And then that'll do what? That'll go.
We'll be able to find the cold spot and watch the temperature drop. And I normally look for about 15 degrees in temperature drops.
That's I have my contacts in, so I don't read well. So that's 85.2 right now.
no.
Yes.
Oh, it
Yeah,
is.
we don't always use that. It's just a matter of we like to have it at the ready in the event something
And then
is
you want
found
the
in real
antenna
time.
up?
Not necessarily. We're going to leave it down for now.
Okay.
Just until we get to that spot where we can use the REM
Gotcha.
pod. We're going to be near horses soon, which is part of the reason why we use earbuds with the spirit box, because they don't like the white noise. And the same thing with the beeping noise. They can hear us because there's no glass in their window panes because they need open air. So that way we don't want to disturb them either.
Okay.
So now onto the device that I'm going to be using. And
See the horses.
Statues.
we're not going to see them.
Oh, we're not gonna see them.
No, they're
Oh.
in the barn. And the windows are pretty high up.
Oh, what places are we going to?
A lot.
Okay.
How long is the tour? I don't.
2 4 a.m.
Normally about 2 hours.
Okay, cool.
Oh, I thought you said 2 4 a.m.
So this guy is basically a digital Ouija board. So basically what it's doing is it's got a cursor that's going through every letter of the alphabet. In the event that there's an EMF spike, it'll stop on a letter and give it to us in the bottom row. So in the events that we actually have an anagram there, we can kind of manipulate the letters a little bit and move them around to spell things out if they're trying to spell things for us, or it might come up directly. So last night specifically, we had 3 out of 4 letters of a name that was relevant to the location. So again, does it mean anything? We didn't have any other clues to kind of verify that. So again, we kind of called it a wash. So my daughter was on the tour that night, so I let her use it so that way she can learn the sensitivity, and there's all kinds of things you can manipulate as far as how sensitive it's going to be based on temperature. It'll take taps and or EMF. Tonight I'm going to be using it just for EMF, just because I want to test to see how it's going to do just on that one setting.
Okay.
So last night, because I'm going to have to talk a lot, so my focus won't be on this all the time, obviously. So again, I'll pull it out from time to time and kind of see where the letters are at, but again, this is actually brand new to the market. They just invented this less than a month ago, and I had to have my hands on it. So first off, it's lightweight, so go ahead and put your hands on that guy. Like it looks bulky, but it's not. So once I seen like how much it weighed, how it actually worked, watched a bunch of videos on it, contacted the manufacturer, I'm like, how quickly can I get my hands on this guy? So
Should we turn our cell phones off? Is
No.
Okay.
no, there's always emergencies and things like that, so I want you guys to have your cell
I mean,
phones
it
on.
doesn't interfere. I mean,
No, does not interfere with anything we're doing now.
Okay.
Unless your cell phone's on the back of your device, it's the only time it's ever going to.
Words.
So there's, again, a 9,100 word dictionary inside the app.
Does it randomly go through words?
What it's claiming to do, so you see all these numbers up here in the top left? It's claiming to go through all of the radio stations
there's
the
this
exact
quick
same
one.
way that Ethan's as Spirit Box is doing the exact same thing. And it's recognizing whatever words are going to, that it hears,
just went
and
on-
giving us the word, the spelling of it on the screen.
It just went on
So
tape.
again, that's the claim
It
of
just
it.
went- it
And there
just
are
went-
times where I see like,
It's going off.
yeah, it's given me GE, so nothing recognizable so far. But
Oh.
I have seen where I'm spot checking that guy, and I see like the timestamp of where the recording is versus what's on there, and there are a lot of weird terms that will match up. So again, It's got I've been using this thing for like 6 years, and it is one of the first things I go to because obviously there's no mistaking what it's telling us, and that's part of the reason why I wanted this. And with sound, it's almost like, unless it's loud and clear, I normally don't put it in your guys' spot check. So I don't want to say it should sound like Jim Bob or whatever the first name that popped in my head is.
You want it to be.
I want it to
random.
be Big John, not Bijan. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't want it to be any kind of question of what it's actually trying to tell us. So, GEW. Yeah, got nothing on that. I'm actually going to slide this in the side pocket so that way it keeps my hands free so when I'm writing down notes for you guys. But there's a reason why we start here. So, let's change these on that specific setting. I know you guys are going to have more questions. Are there any other questions about your devices before we get started?
No, so I'm just looking for anything above 2.5.
5.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because on your K2 meters, the blinky lights they show you on TV, that would be the first indicator that there's any kind of EMF spike at all. That's the second green dot that they would show you on
And this
TV.
is going to correlate more with him or with...
Well, your device is basically going to tell everybody.
Read energy. Like,
Yeah.
if there's an energy that's
So it
around,
could correlate with
like,
anybody.
then it'll spike
All
up.
right, let's roll.
Apparently, she watches more than you do. But we got to start here. It's the reason why I told you guys to meet me at Big John's. So, Big John, this place was owned by a football player. First off, Ethan, you haven't said a word since you got that thing. Are you hearing things on there?
I heard never done.
Never gonna. So he's heard something. That's the first thing I want to know, that you're actually getting the gist of how to listen to it. Good. Teenagers do
Is the
wave.
volume good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he can play with that all night long.
Wait, Ethan, are you trying?
Let's hear a story.
So,
It's-
Big John was a football player for the 1947 New York Giants. Now, whenever I'm giving you the history of a location or a building, I will always do my best to slow down on the keywords that are common among the 2 different spirit boxes that we're using. Keep in mind, I actually have 5 different spirit boxes in the bag, 6 total. So 2 of them are duplicates because I do like to use 2 of those. But the keywords here would be 47, New York, Giants, anything relative to a bar, and the name John, obviously. So, here's why the place is haunted. John used to sit in the back of the bar because it was his, sitting back there drinking beer all day, but he would let the bartender know if the cadets coming over from the Citadel, if they were old enough to drink or not. One night, 2 guys came in, they were not old enough to drink. John knew who they were. He had the bartender throw them out, and they leave pretty angry. They come back the next night and try to steal the cash register from the front of the bar. John sees what's going on, he slams down his beer, and he gets up and just starts beating the heck out of these guys, just pounding them right into the floor. A couple of gunshots went off. John got hit in the neck, but the bullet landed behind him in the wall. He gets up after being shot, the only one that's been shot, by the way, goes back to the bar and tells the bartender to get him another beer, get the 2 guys on the floor, and ambulance. So, normally if I tell you a building is haunted, you automatically think of some kind of tragic death that occurred there. Nobody died in the story I just told you. What's haunting the place is the bullet hole. It's allegedly still here. If this new renovation of Big John's actually filled it in, that means that Big John's blood is still in the building and is now sealed into the building. People that sit in the front of the bar tend to get a little queasy, nauseous, or headache based on the EMF readings that will come out of that space, based on the bullet hole that's still there. So it's kind of a heated warning. If anybody feels anything, I need to know immediately. Obviously, we have kids here, so it is a very big deal. I'm not going to say that people haven't passed out in the past. I will always blame the heat, humidity first. Always. We're not here to make things up.
Okay.
So,
I've been getting coldest spots from in there.
you're getting cold from the windows.
Oh, yeah.
It can't see through glass, so
Oh.
it's actually giving you the temperature of the glass,
Okay.
which is always going to be cool. It's a good question.
It was coming from, like, the back of the bar, so I found it.
Let's get our minds off our own health. So have you
Yeah.
guys taken any historical tours in Charleston at all?
It's been 15 years.
Okay. Every tour guide talks about the big earthquake we had in 1886.
Yeah.
This building is allegedly where the first death occurred from that earthquake. The white mantle you see in the middle of the building also wraps around on the front of the East Bay Street side. A piece of it broke off, hit somebody in the back of the head, and killed him. And they say you could see his ghost in the middle of East Bay Street in the middle of the night. Now, I said apparently and allegedly a lot with that because I don't have any proof. It's just a great segue so nobody's thinking about getting sick on the tour, even though I just brought it up again. So, is everybody ready to go ghost hunting and get off this corner?
Yeah.
I know you are. He's like bouncing off the walls. We're actually going to go this way.
Is it open currently, or? No.
It's just Monday, so it's closed. It's closed on Mondays.
Oh. This is hard to hold.
It's heavy.
It's not just because it's heavy. It's
What do you get?
I had the word disembodied when you were talking about the ghost. So do I only say the words I hear clearly?
That would be the
Yes.
optimal thing. Have you heard something clearly?
Did you,
Did you hear something?
No.
did you hear give you up, Ethan?
So, what's weird is I'm only
Did
gonna
you hear
notate
give you up?
things like in your data tomorrow morning, things that are specific to the stories, obviously, the histories I'm telling. But it doesn't mean that the things that are saying, like, you guys are actually a pretty happy group. I don't always get the happy family. I always get the super serious, we're here to go on a ghost hunt, or I get the skeptic that's really pissed off because he doesn't want to be here. So again, I don't always have a happy, smiling group. So
You're getting a tour of Charleston. Why not at night?
Yeah.
well, I think it was funny
Oh my
this last
gosh,
night's
this
tour.
is-
I had a couple. And the wife was so stoked. She couldn't wait to go.
Yeah.
She was asking me, what was it?
Blast.
Blast?
Yeah.
Kind of vague. I'll
They
wait
had
for some
metal.
pop up.
Was the piece that fell metal?
No.
Okay.
But the husband was the skeptic. She pointed that out like right away. He doesn't believe in any of this. I hate when people do that, and I'll tell you why.
I just had 3 points. So I don't know.
I'll take that. The reason why I hate when people point out the skeptic in their families, because now I'm focused on the skeptic
Yeah.
all night long. Because
Right.
again, this is my living. So that's a matter of like, all right. And I told her that, like, don't do that. I'm like, listen, I was like, are you here to have a good time? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm here to have a blast. I'm like, you're gonna learn a lot of weird history, and you're gonna have fun playing with tools you'll never touch again. He had more fun by the end of the night than she did. So you had a 3.7, you said?
Yep. Right back down to 0.
That's how those things work.
Is that the bullet hole, maybe? That's the only rusty
Pretty blue
spot.
No, that's
No.
just metal when they build the building.
That's the only spot like that, so I don't know.
Well, we're actually not even near the bar now because on the other side of this wall is the bike taxi garage.
Oh. I thought it was at the back of... No,
It's
the
in the
shot
front.
was in the front.
It's in the front.
He
yeah.
drank the beer in the back.
That's the big red barn where we keep the horses for your carriage.
Can you do one thing for him real quick? Andrew,
What's up?
come here real quick.
Yeah?
So turn around and show him your camera. So when he sees blue, what's it gonna? I mean,
It's...
he's seeing blue, but
That's only
how's-
because it's colder, because this red right here, I can tell you, is the pole. Because it's obviously made out of
so
cement.
how's
and
he gonna differentiate?
It'll start moving.
The blue will move.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And
hear
it'll
that?
And there
be...
should there also be black?
Not necessarily. It just depends on the variation in there.
Do you hear that, Andrew? So
Yes.
Just because you see blue doesn't mean it's something, but if it's moving and doing things, that's
I
what
heard death.
Now we're talking. So,
Well, now it's talking.
this is part of the reason why I stop here. Is because I do an explanation further.
No, Nancy?
I don't know who the heck Nancy is.
That's
so
the
It's
phone
another
number.
explanation. You have to imagine I only take 10 people out at a time. So again, there's going to be 11 now because of the new device that I'm using that I showed you. But again, I have to show people 10 different devices on how to utilize them. So that's part of the reason why we start here, because the history here isn't really long. It's a one-liner, and it's just a great example for the spirit boxes. And then I'll show you guys how to use the camera and more about your device. So those horses are inside that barn. Again,
Hey,
you now
horsies.
know. Yeah, they're inside those in the front part, the back of this part here, obviously. There's a couple of seats back there. But the history here is really simple. This is the same barn that held horses that delivered milk and eggs to the residents of Charleston. Keywords here being delivery, milk, and eggs, obviously. So spirit boxes, everybody wants to ask the same question whenever they get a spirit box of any type. Think of a Ouija board. What's the first question you would ask?
What's your name?
Or,
How did you die?
wow, you're getting specific. Those are good. I'm going to go to somebody else. Don't you answer because you're too good at this. Somebody else. What else would you ask? What's the first question?
Are you here?
Are you here? If somebody says no and Ethan hears it, obviously somebody's here. So we are not going to be asking yes and no questions all night long. So again, you're not going to get paranormal evidence out of yes and no answers. The funny thing is the device I showed you that I'm using that's attached to my bag, it does give you the option to do yes no answers, and I don't want anything to do with it whatsoever.
Excuse me, can I have a different device? My thumbs are getting
I
extremely
can switch
tired.
with you.
Yeah.
I want
swap
to
'em
get
around.
mom's,
Here,
kind
Andrew.
of.
Here,
You
I'll
want
do
mine?
this.
This is heavy. This one's heavy.
Yeah, but it's not like this.
He probably gave you that
Actually-
one for a reason. Like,
No, he's good. I mean, if you guys need to swap them around, swap them around.
Please.
you want me to change? Okay.
You don't understand
This
how
one's real
annoying that-
heavy, so you have to be very careful because
It's not.
okay.
That one
Okay.
makes
That
my
one is actually
arm.
easier to hold.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
it's actually heavier, believe it or not. But, so,
Thumb
when I'm
is
training people how to use these spirit boxes, it's a matter of you want to ask questions you know the answers to first, just to kind of get used to it. So, for example, I would say, if somebody's here, tell me what color the big red barn is. Obviously, we are looking, because Andrew has the word list, and listening, because he even has the one he's listening to for the color red. However,
Okay.
the color red isn't always going to be available to the song lyrics and DJs that Ethan's listening to. So, with that, fire truck, blood, heart, those three things are specifically red. I would take that as an acceptable answer.
Okay.
So, but with that being said,
I heard California when you said born.
okay, I'll write that one down because that's very weird hearing it way over here in South Carolina. But
Maybe
you
it.
can always kind of insert it
Oh,
a little
the.
bit further. So again, we
That's
don't want to know
okay.
every single word. I'll come to you.
Here, you might be best on this one.
No.
Okay, all right.
I didn't know. So only like the names and stuff like
Do you
that.
have to pee, Andrew?
No.
Okay.
I just have a lot of energy and my legs are tired.
Okay.
On a Monday, they all close down pretty early.
Okay.
So, Ethan, do you have a much better gist of how you're listening to that guy now?
Yep.
I mean, you're giving me terms already, so I think he has the gist. So, Mom, the camera, go ahead
Yep.
and point it at me for a second. So, you want to try to keep one of us in view, just because
Oh.
we're the warmest thing out here.
Okay.
So that's going to give you the array of color that we're looking for with those blue and black spots that either take shape or move on their own.
I
Okay.
got something
I
about
will also tell you that when we're in spaces like this, we're going to be where there's going to be parked cars or people walking by. We
Yeah.
don't want to be a vlogger. So again, people don't like their cars to be filmed,
Oh,
and they
goodbye.
don't like to
Oh, wow.
be filmed
I got
themselves.
Pursuit.
Oh, okay. This is filming.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I'm
You're
getting
getting a
words.
whole video. So
Wow, that's a long video.
not necessarily, because we're going to do a few starts and stops. You see
Okay.
the red square on there?
Yep.
So that means it's recording. So I'll kind of give you the cue after the next space of when we're going to stop the video to kind of give it a little bit of a break, and your
Okay.
hands a break too. Because again, like you said, it's not
I got-
easy to hold on to.
Female. I got Pursuit, Goodbye, and Female.
So with yours, I will come to you, and you're going to show me this button right there, and it'll show you everything we've had so far. So the only thing you want to hit after that is this button up at the top right to get back to the main screen.
Okay.
So you got two buttons
And
made to work on.
so
Adult,
I think-
female. So
Female,
again,
adult.
that's actually kind of relative to our next space. Any other readings coming out of yours?
Nope,
before we
I'm
move on?
still on pretty much zeroed out.
Okay. I am going to check the weather real quick because again, we're not going to be near shelter. In the event it starts dumping on us over there at our next space, we will come back over here to get underneath this awning. So just kind of give me two shakes here, and I'll see where we're at. Because again, only one out of the three. Yeah, and it's right. Perfect. Wonderful. All right, let's go. Let's go.
Thanks.
No problem.
So Pursuit, Goodbye,
Well, I'm more interested in your adult female phrase that actually
That's
shows
fine.
up. So we're going to see how this is going to go with the next space.
I think.
You had California before that, right?
What?
You had
Yes.
California.
Maybe they meant Carolina.
So certain things that I will omit, just so you know. Anything that has the current year in it. So if you hear 2022, it's bogus. You're going to hear it all night long. And actually go by that. The other thing, if it says Charleston or South Carolina, I don't even want it. Reason why? It's too easy.
Yeah.
Way too easy.
I'm going to guess one of the things is market.
No, we're not going to the market.
Oh.
Not unless it starts raining. So, part of the reason people like to come see me is because I take them to places that they've
35.5.
Holy cow.
4.1.
35.5. And what was the one before after that?
2.2 and then went up to 4.1.
All right, so at this point, because you've already given me such a huge spike, I normally say let's escalate it, but probably not going to see much over 35, because that's actually pretty high for the space. Anything above 4.1, you're going forward inside the space. So, bless you.
Bless you.
Because you gave me the 2.2%.
Gather. Concern.
I'll explain more about that once I take it through the history of the space.
I don't think those are.
This is gathered concerned.
I don't think that's
gathered
Well.
and concerned.
Well,
So, let's see
Is
what's
that-
going up with
I'm-
this guy.
this like slavery.
I got nothing on those photos. Let's start over fresh here.
I'm thinking.
So,
it's like
welcome to the
slavery.
Pinckney Mansion site. This is one of the actually the biggest hotspots that I have. I know it looks like an empty parking lot because that's exactly what it is. We're actually fortunate because there's only one vehicle in here tonight. On Fridays and Saturdays, it's jammed full. We're limited on space that we can actually work with. So, what is this place? This used to be the Eliza and Charles Pinckney Mansion. Their mansion actually sat in the front of this space. Eliza's garden was lined up with Five Church Restaurant and came all the way across. And then the servant and slave quarters were in the back of the space. So I always like to give you the layout before I give you the history if I know it. Now, this particular, I guess, with this location, I'm not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse for your spirit boxes. Obviously, we did the big red barn over there. That's an easy one. You're going to get the answers from your spirit boxes, and I am going to withhold information on purpose.
I think it's talking about slaves because it says gather, will, and control. Will and control.
They're a little vague. We want something a little bit more specific. If they were talking about slaves, I want the word slave. So, you see where I'm going? Let's be really, really, like, direct with it. So, I like how he's piecing the story together, though. Like, he's on the right track. But again, we're a little vague with that. And the fact that he knew, was spouting off the word antonym and didn't even stutter over it. I'm like, okay, the kid knows what he's talking about with his words. Cool. So, who the heck were Eliza and Charles? They had a son named Charles. They had a nephew named Charles. So we are always going to look for secondary clues when we're out here because, again, not one little thing is going to be
3.3.
paranormal every single time. So again, you're going to look for verifiers throughout the entire night. If you miscounted those Charleses, there was 3 of them. So we need to know which Chuck we're chatting with. Kind of get the gist of. Sorry, I want to make sure I got all these written down that he just gave me. But anyway, the son and the nephew were signers of the Constitution for South Carolina. Pretty big deal for us, but I hate politics, so we're not going to talk about it. We're going to talk about Eliza. Eliza married Charles at a young age. If you ask her how old she was when she got married, you're not going to get numbers like if you were getting married in colonial times, like 12 and 14. These are according to today's standards, what we would consider young to be married. So
4.6.
she married Charles because her father was over in England and he thought he was dying. So he's trying to get all of his kids home one last time so he can see them one last time. What do you have now?
24.3 and 5.7.
And I got under, but that's probably useless.
Yes. You are
Maybe
correct.
he's buried under there.
It's not.
Ask
I know.
25.8.
Wow.
After that comment, Andrew, 4.0. I'm getting, yeah,
Yeah, let's stick to the 20s at this point because all those little ones, like we have a good handful.
yeah.
20s and higher. Let's
Okay.
stick to those.
For the rest of the tour? Or
For the rest of the here.
Okay.
So it's going to be different in every space. And again, with me
Yeah.
being out here every single night,
Rice?
that is actually relevant here.
Oh,
Wow.
is his favorite food rice?
Let me
They
get through
grew
it.
rice.
No,
Oh.
they did not.
Oh.
They get through it. So, here's what happened. Eliza's dad didn't die, but in the meantime of him trying to bring all of his kids home, Eliza married Charles, and it's 1744. So it was a matter of she did marry Charles out of love, even though he was over double her age. So there's a pretty big age gap between the two of them. With that, Dad starts sending over gifts from England. One of the gifts happened to be the plant seeds of indigo. And indigo
Oh.
is a plant that makes blue dye that makes our blue jeans
Yeah.
blue. So, yeah, it started right here. She had to learn from her slaves how to keep it cultivated because it's not always hot here, believe it or not. So once she had it figured out, she moves it to another plantation south of here on the Stono River, calls her father up and says, rice plantations are going downhill. We can actually make a killing with the indigo. And now we have an international businesswoman during colonial times.
Oh.
So pretty big deal for us
Yeah.
here. That's why nobody comes here because there's nothing to look at. But let's get into the weird stuff about Eliza and what we're actually going to be looking for. Yeah, I'm getting like no relevant letters over here at all, but it's giving me letters, which is good. So obviously you can ask Eliza how old she was when she got married, or you can ask how old her husband was. It's a pretty big age gap between the two of them.
Should I ask?
I'm going to give you a whole series of questions because we're working with 2 different spirit boxes here, so we never know where the answers are actually going to go. The mansion's not here anymore. Maybe you can find out what actually happened to the mansion. And if you get an answer, hopefully we can find out when that happened. Notice none of these questions are yes or no questions.
It was destroyed and buried under.
No. As
I
far
heard house.
house and family are 2 very common terms that we hear at this location, just so you know. You can also ask how many kids that they had. I already told you one. His name was Charles. There was more. But you can, as far as the kids go, just tread lightly. Ask how many there were, what their names were, but nothing else. There's a tragedy among those kids. We don't want to poke the bear. So again, if you poke the bear, all of your crazy spikes are going to go away. It's almost a guarantee. And it's weird because you're getting like really high spikes and I haven't seen in probably months. And it's just, I don't know if it's because I have a smaller group here. Again, I have a family with me tonight, so that might be some of part of the trigger that's actually coming through.
You're not getting anything wrong. This is guy.
One last series of questions, and we're going to break away so you guys can actually start working on these. Eliza's death. Ask her how old she was when she died, what she died from, where she's buried, and what president was a pallbearer at her funeral. Again, these answers can go to either spirit box, my audio, or the audio on the camera. So kind of keep that in mind.
Is Brad one of their kids?
No, I don't know who the heck Brad is. We are also pretty close to Big John's Tavern still. We will get some bleed over.
Keep getting spikes when he talks. 50.6. After
50?
50.6 after I just said that. When he talked earlier, it was 16.6.
Oh. Am I the ghost?
You are
Yes, it
Charles.
was.
Andrew, do you have a connection to the ghost?
No. Charles, maybe.
What's your middle name?
Charles. You got Spike?
No, but that's. I
What's
didn't
funny
even.
is in the mix of all of this, I do have a CHAR. Yep. Alright, so I am going to have to show you how to
I
use
want
that
to yell,
REM pod.
shut up.
The what?
The REM pod, the motion sensor part of it. So,
Okay.
yeah. So I would say, so I can actually-
25.5.
I can have a conversation with you. I'm going to send these three to go work together. Nice slow laps around here. Again, you don't want to be filming that person's car. Start asking questions. Give mom the other earbud or give Andrew the other earbud.
What?
So again, that way you both can listen in and verify what you have. There's a cheap earbud in the car.
Yeah, it was done in my shoe.
Right down the middle. The line is all set. It's like the airline. Exactly. They're like 20 cents in a big giant box of them. That's why I don't ask for them back. So that way somebody can actually pop that thing in your ear. What's the question you're asking? What's the bartender's name was? I don't know who the bartender is.
It's not Brad either.
The earbud.
See what happens. As soon as you put it in, it got real big.
All right,
Alright.
let's do a
Take
walk.
a few laps.
Come on.
And I'll come back to the
Okay. Let's.
How old were you when you got married?
Follow.
Follow who? Who should we follow?
Who should we follow?
Is it Eliza? Eliza, how old were you when you got married?
I heard
79.
79? Maybe, was your husband 79, Eliza?
Was your husband 79, Eliza?
How many kids did you have, Eliza?
How many kids did you have, Eliza?
Are we still following you?
Eliza, was your husband 79? It's a yes and no. How many kids did you have, Eliza?
Are you still here, Eliza?
I heard 6.
6? Okay. I bet there were beautiful gardens here. Tell us something about your life, Eliza.
Oh, scholar.
Is this Elijah?
Eliza, reset it.
35.3.
Did you have a scholar?
Was her husband 79?
No.
Did they have 6 kids?
No.
Can you show me a different color?
Did you ever have a daughter, Eliza?
Eliza, can you make,
You're getting a figure.
That's Dad.
No, but it wouldn't be blue.
That's Dad.
That's Dad.
His clothes are going to be blue. His skin will be orange.
Right.
That was off the charts there. It's 50s, 30s.
I got the 35.
Eliza, how old were you when you got married?
How old were you when you died, Eliza? Maybe she was 79 when she died. What?
What?
Why are you laughing?
The minute you said how old were you when you died, it said vaginas. Or vaginas.
Oh, it did?
Eliza, did you like living here? I'm sorry, that's a bad question, Eliza.
Eliza, when were you born?
So, what else have we heard on that? Obviously, the number 79 and 6.
Scholar.
Still vague. Specifics. And again, I'm withholding information. You guys don't know everything I know about the Pinckneys. So, if somebody was a scholar or something specifically scholarly on, like say botany, and botany showed up, that would be
Right.
obviously relevant.
Okay.
He's got giant numbers. Like, I'm just pointing them out. Like, his numbers are huge for this space. Like, we don't normally see 30s into the 50s.
Yeah.
Like, those are high readings. Like, the average for this space is like 18 to 22.
Oh.
And I'm going to explain more about what
So
those
what are
readings
some good questions?
Eliza, you want to tell us what happened to the mansion?
Andrew, what are you doing?
He's looking through the word list.
Oh. Does that stop it?
Nope.
Okay.
Keeps it going. You just got to remember to hit the top right button and not the bottom buttons. Eliza, let's hear what happened to the mansion.
What happened to the mansion? Did you also hear people weren't supposed to?
Yeah.
People weren't supposed to?
Yeah. I heard that super clear.
People weren't supposed to.
People weren't supposed to what? Is that what you heard?
Yeah.
Super clear,
Somebody's
he
turning in
said.
here. Let's move over this way.
It was super clear.
People weren't supposed to what?
They cut to the next.
Yeah, getting mixed phrases like that, that's pretty common.
Eliza, how many children did you have?
Did you hear burned and crashed?
Keep doing it. I'm going to switch over our numbers.
burn and crash? Did the
I wasn't
house
paying
burn?
attention.
What's that?
Did the house
Does
burn?
a fire do anything?
Yes. Is that what you heard?
It said burned and crashed.
Here's your answer. Eliza, you want to tell us when that happened? Give us the date or the year.
It said no.
Eliza, you can use this new box to come near it to show us what year it actually happened. What year did that fire happen?
It said okay. Oh, it said months and okay.
Oh, you want to tell us what month it was?
What month did your house burn down?
So this thing actually has different modes. So obviously I showed you the alphabet, then it'll go to yes, no's,
Numbers. Oh.
and then there's numbers, and then there's emojis for. They got
Eliza,
stupid.
did you want
Like,
us to follow you?
people from colonial times don't give a shit about emojis.
Right.
Clouded.
Put it back to
Show me how you're feeling.
I know.
The smiley face.
right? I just found it rather odd that they would put it in such a sophisticated
Where are you?
device. The number 2.
Is this Eliza or is this Charles?
22. It just gave me 2 2s back to back.
Wow.
That's actually relevant. And there's a number.
Wow.
What month did the house burn down? There it is.
January?
1, 2, 12. It's December.
Oh.
The number 22 is the age she was when she got married. She was also born in 1722, so 22 actually shows up here quite a bit.
Eliza, what caused the fire?
7, 1, 6. All right, Eliza, why don't you give us the address of your house? What are the numbers of the address of your house? In order.
Eliza, can you tell us what caused the fire?
It's 2:35.
Is this Charles?
That's a yes or no question.
Oh.
There's 2. What's the next? What's the next number of your address? 26.
Who am I speaking with?
Start over, Eliza. You're getting used to it. Give us the first number of your address.
Sebastian.
235.
Was one of her sons named Sebastian?
No. She only had one husband. His name was Charles, remember?
No, son.
Oh. No, no Sebastian and the kids. Okay, numbers are coming up just randomly at this point. Too many things going on.
Eliza, did you have to do that? Sorry. Like the yes no video.
I don't.
No, it's fine, Eliza.
It's more my preference than anything. It's not that she doesn't.
Full name.
Eliza, who is Sebastian?
I heard who shot.
What did you hear?
Who shot?
Who shot?
How did your house burn down?
Is Sebastian shot?
I keep on hearing shot. I heard shot twice.
Who got shot, Eliza? Which one of your sons was it that got shot? I'll reset the letters up. You can start over and spell it out. Or you can tell us using the other boxes like we normally use.
Sebastian who shot Big John?
No, yes, no. What was the name of the person who shot Big John?
Well, one of her sons probably got shot.
As I know this one's hard to use because you've never touched it before, but I'll slow it down so you can grab the right letters. Hell, if you want to spell your name out, that'd be great.
What?
Do you have any spots or anything?
No.
So that camera, as great as it is, do we capture something every night with it? Not necessarily, but when we do, it is a holy cow moment. Like you can't mistake it. Eliza, what letters are missing on here from your name? That's not it.
Here. It was in the song. Here. It was in the song.
Andrew Hurley.
Alright. So come on over, Dad. Let's kind of go over what all of this actually means. Turn off that REM pod part. That's the white button in the back. So here's what I'm excited about. Those readings you were getting, first off, are pretty high for this location. Normally I see an average of 18 to 22. You were giving me 50s. So that's actually pretty relevant. Now those readings, I told you, is measuring, electromagnetic fields. I like to give you an example of how it's reading those as far as things in your house. So behind your TV is going to have like a 40 to 60 milligauss reading from that device, based on how many wires you have back there and how many PlayStations are behind there plugged in. Your microwave running on high, about 150 to 170.
Okay.
And you're standing next to it with the door shut. The highest I've ever seen that device go, 214 in this space. That's like putting your head inside the running microwave. Like, it was high. Like, with a guy with seizures, we left. Like, I was like not playing around. That's way too high. It's dangerous levels. We got out of here. Like, it was, I don't normally see things where I'm like, all right, guys, we're not staying. We're moving on. But that was one of those nights. Next highest one I saw was in Florida at the St. Augustine Lighthouse. It went all the way up to 197 two times in the same room. So again, I left, it errored out, and then I went back in, and it gave me like a 197.3 or whatever the number was, and then it went right back down to zero again, like nothing ever happened. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. So,
What was the name of the bartender?
I don't know. I have no idea. So,
Was the bar? I'm guessing the bartender or the bar was after this.
long after.
Okay. That's
Long.
what I thought. Yeah, because that was in the 1900s. There was slavery after that.
So, the people from here are from the 1700s.
Yeah,
So,
I realized that.
So the people over there from the 1900s, like you just said. So 1960s, 1970s over there. Eliza was 22. We did get that number from my device when she married Charles, who was 45. So we didn't hear the number 45. Let's see. The mansion burned down, as you guys already heard, burned and crashed. So that was actually during the Great Fire of 1861. So that was a pretty big one. And what's funny is every tour in town talks about a Great Fire because we've had dozens of them, and they're all named after whatever year they happened in. But this one in particular.
Shame. My thing's really going off. It was going red with shame, and it said shame.
Yeah.
So first off, this is the Eliza that we were just talking about. So this is what she looked like. So this is the woman that lived here.
Pine. It's really weird.
We'll see what else pops up at it.
It's going to track all.
After, like,
Again,
I know that happened. But
this is where you're standing right now. This is the
Oh,
mansion
wow.
after the damage of the fire of 1861. So we are standing in the back, which would be like right over here kind of mentality. But that kind of gives you the gist of what the mansion looked like. It's the only photograph we actually have of the mansion. So every tour is going to talk about a fire. Let me show you how big this fire actually was. You're standing on the green dot on this map. This is obviously the peninsula of Charleston. You can see that the fire went from one side of the peninsula all
Yeah.
the way to the other, which is why the mansion didn't burn all the way to the ground, because it barely touched it and then went across to the other side. This is about $5 to $9 million worth of damage back then. That's a lot of damage. It destroyed a good portion of the city. Funny thing is this actually happened in December of 1861. I was waiting for, like, we had like a 1-2, I think, pop up. It was a matter of, like, there was too many numbers popping up where I'm going to say, like, yeah, look at this. But the 22 is definitive because it shows up here all
I
the
don't think
time.
she lets us hear. But
Well, I'm here every night. I'm surprised you guys haven't heard my name yet, because normally it's a hello Nick when we enter. So again, I'm here every night. We'll be okay. There'll be certain nights where, like, I'll actually capture something where it's like, just leave us alone and that kind of thing. And he'd already here to leave, which is the reason why I'm actually wrapping this up. There were 4 kids, grand total. So Charles, you guys already know about, and then there was Thomas. He was shot in his left leg during a Revolutionary War battle, and he was captured by the British. So we didn't hear anything other than the word shot several times.
manual.
But what's weird, oh, that one's actually not in here. Let me get to that one. So, that's not one of the kids still. So I'll explain who that is in a second. But what's weird is we've actually been getting clues in this location to another space that we're about to go to, which is like maybe 2 blocks this way. And we've been getting them over here, and it's a dueling story. So like take 10 paces, turn and shoot. So the word shot being heard several times, I'll be looking to see if there's any other clues relative to that. It's the weirdest thing, but it was during the same time frame that Eliza was living here. So it would make sense that these people would have known each other.
There's something really weird. Mine was the highest one.
Baby George was the next person, the next child. So George was the next one. And George doesn't have a headstone or a grave.
Oh.
The theory behind that is that George would have been mummified, meaning they turned him into a mummy and left him right here in the home. So when he said buried underground, it is a great possibility that they may have done that.
That's
And yeah, but
disturbing.
they would have done that so that way he could be buried with his mom. So after Eliza passes, he would have been transported to her grave to be buried with her to save space in the graveyards. So again, just based on their religious values, it is very disturbing, which is part of the reason why I tell it. And you can't prove it. It's just a matter of those are things that happened during those times, and it is a great possibility considering we do know he does not have a grave or a headstone. The last child, her name was Harriet. She married Daniel Ori. Now, Ori is Myrtle Beach. That's about 2.5 hours north of here. So that kind of gives you an idea of where she lived. It wouldn't have been a 2.5-hour car ride for Eliza to go see her. It would have been a lot of letter writing back and forth.
Yeah.
So words when Harriet does show up here, like quill, ink, paper, anything dealing with letter writing in the 1700s. We had the word pen show up last night, and everybody got excited. I'm like, they didn't use pens back in the 1700s. They used quills. They used ink. You know, those kind of mentality. So at least they were on the right path of
But they
thought
would pen a
process.
letter, no?
They would pen a letter.
Did
So I
they
mean,
use
you're correct in that.
pineapple?
But I guess the way I looked at it initially was like, that's a very, like, I think of a big pen.
Right.
You know, just because of today's times. Yeah, I'm going to go through
Okay.
every single word. So,
I really don't think they use it.
surrounding. Well, you're surrounding me at this point. See how that works? You're okay. Trust me, if I had a bad vibe about things, we would be having it. I am super excited about the readings you guys gave us. Like that was pretty good stuff. And the blue round, because what he did was he was trying to detect motion, and when he resets it, making sure it's not his motion, it went right back to it. So again, he definitely did not cause those blue colors to show up. So I'm pretty excited about that. Hopefully, because you were filming him the entire time, he may catch something that would have been going on around him. So
Here.
No.
surrounding him being here. So the next space we're going to, did I leave? Oh, Eliza's death. Let me kind of go through that real quick. Eliza was 70 years old when she died, not
Okay.
79. I know you guys asked about 79, but
Yeah.
you do have to say 70 to get to 79. Again, it's very vague and very sketch, but again, it is what it is sometimes.
I don't know.
So scared.
Kind of, I am.
She died in 1793 at 70
she's-
years old.
Oh.
Now, that's a long time for a
Wow.
woman to be living during those times. I'll point that out. But she was going to Philadelphia getting treatments for whatever they thought she had. It turned out to be breast cancer. And we didn't know what breast cancer was back in 1793. We're going based off of medical records and that kind of thing now. She died in Philadelphia. She's buried in Philadelphia. So why are we here? None of you, and we're not actually going to cemeteries, by the way, regardless of the name of the tour. Like, you're not going to actually hang out near your grave when you're gone. You're going to go to your mansions 400 miles away, which is why we go to spaces like this. Do you want to take a guess at the president that was her pallbearer at the funeral? Anybody know? 1793? Come on, Dad. What do you got?
Ethan, you should.
Is that Adams?
Everybody guesses Adams. This is a good thing that you are not guessing properly at this point, so let me explain. It was George Washington. Washington,
Oh.
at his own request, wanted to pay homage to Eliza because her indigo helped to get the country started.
my
So
gosh.
there's the reason why. But here's why it's funny that you couldn't answer it. When we got here, I played a little subliminal trick on all of you. I said I'm not going to be giving you questions like what color is George Washington's white horse for the spirit boxes. I
Yeah.
put George Washington in the back of all of your brains subliminally to see if anybody's going to spout that answer off
That's
as
what I
we're
was
kind of doing the
thinking.
investigation.
But I didn't know.
Even when I
didn't
ask
know
you
what the
again,
sounds
you
were.
gave me the wrong answer. So you passed with a fail. That's a good job. That means you're not subject to subliminal messages, and that way I can actually trust what you guys are actually giving back to me as far as like what
Okay.
they're actually hearing. Do you see where I'm going with that?
Yep.
So this is like our first like yeah, I know. It's a bad word trick on my end.
I mean, we're
but
pretty expert ghost hunters.
yeah, he's like, look at my readings. We're good.
Yes.
All right, so this is a place where we can ask questions and get answers. The next space is not that way. So go ahead and stop your video, hit the red square, and kind of a lot of weird things. No, you definitely want to hang it to it horizontally. Okay. With the camera to your left. Okay. Now stop the video. Now we're gonna have some upside down video. Sweet.
No, it was
No, I was watching him. He had it to the left.
You had
most
it
of the time.
My right hand is covering
The names I commonly get are Benjamin and John. So, and don't be too impressed when I say I have the whole list of everybody that's ever lived down here.
Yeah.
It's
How many people were here?
like 2 to 5 people at a time. Like, so every year that's listed, there's only like 2 to 5 people listed for the people that lived here during that time frame.
Really?
Yeah, that's it. So, yeah, a very odd space. These two giant buildings weren't here. So there's little tiny shotgun houses on either side.
So on this street,
Yes.
there were only like 2 to 3 people that lived on the street.
Right.
Okay. Because they would have been houses.
Yeah, very small, like shotgun houses.
Oh,
So
okay.
like 1 to 2 room houses.
Okay.
Now, Benjamin and John both lived here in 1801. I get those same 2 names every 6 to 7 weeks, like I said. And John, there were 4 different Johns that lived here, granted that. But John likes to give us his last name, Johnson. So we'll get Ben, John, and Johnson all in the same night. Sorry, that's like the one puddle when you found it. But we will get those names very commonly, almost on cue, every single time that we're down here within the 6 to 7 week loop. Here's what I think is happening. We're dealing with the stone tape theory. So basically, the bricks that you're standing on are Belgian blocks. They're made of granite. They've been here since at least 1739 that we know of. So they've been here a few hundred years.
Yeah.
The stone tape theory basically states that any kind of stone or anything, from the earth that's been in the same location for a long period of time can actually hang on to the consciousness of the memories of the things that occurred here. So here's the weird thing. I want you to take your device, Tim, and I want you to set it on any brick you choose as long as it's not wet, and see if you get any numbers out of it at all. Now, granite is not supposed to have any type of electrical charge coming out of it whatsoever.
Okay.
It's what I'm expecting out of this is up to a 1.1 because that's natural from the earth. I expect that from the mud and the clay below this area. So again, at times we will get it all the way up to 15. Again, that's the highest I've seen it in this location. That's pretty high for this space. I know over there at 50 Mansion, the 50s was high. So did you get it up to? 2.4. The 2.4. So it's a small little chit. Let's go ahead and test another one. Let's see if we can get something else. Now, while you're watching that, before people lived here, the Freemasons had a Masonic lodge here. This is where the alley gets its name from, Lodge Alley. So
Oh.
we do get terms wrapped around that, like symbols, Freemason, Mason, brick. The term Illuminati loves to show up on Ethan's spirit box all the
Okay.
time.
He would be super excited about
Ethan's
that.
a big Oak Island fan, right?
So the Illuminati piece of it, it's funny to me because he's listening to radio stations.
Yeah.
Who the hell's talking about the Illuminati on the radio?
People I listen to are.
Yeah, but on regular radio stations?
No, on
Podcasts, maybe.
Yeah.
But
True.
radio stations, not so much. And
Yeah.
we only hear it when we're in this space. 6 times last year, 3 times so far this year.
Wow.
All verified by me. Like, they heard it before or after. Like, I just heard Illuminati. I'm like, that's actually relevant. You know, that kind of mentality.
Yeah.
Like, they didn't know. So I go back and I actually search for it because it's such an odd thing to hear
Right.
in this location. Any other readings above that 2.4?
2.1 right now.
Okay. So that would be a no.
Yeah, sorry.
That's okay. Go ahead and pick it up. You can hang on to it. Probably not gonna get
You're not
anything
supposed to ask me yes/no questions.
We don't stay here long. Again, it's just kind of giving you the gist of the way the land was laid out in Charleston, and I would always look to see if we're going to get anything relative like Benjamin and John.
So what did this road connect?
It would have connected the
know?
main road, which is East Bay Street, where we just walked, and part of the neighborhood, which is where we're going to now.
Okay.
So it was almost like the people that lived down here were either Coopers or they were Mariners.
Okay.
So barrel makers.
Okay.
So again, we're right next to the water. The wharf, like the edge of the peninsula, was actually much closer. The whole outside,
4.7.
the whole outside of the peninsula is actually man-made.
Oh.
Yeah. So it was much closer.
Okay.
Much closer. I like 4.7.
4.9.
John, Ben, here. Something. Anything above 4.9? No. Alright. So, we are going to go to another alley. However, I can't take you all the way through like what we're doing here. I think with that. The reason being is you guys have all the blinky lights and noise makers and all that stuff, and it is residential at the end. So, we are going to stir up some of the activity by telling that story in detail outside of the alley in hopes that we're going to be able to capture something along the way. So, I will tell you also how I got booted out of the space because it's actually relevant to our last stop after that. We will
Okay.
hear things relative to that dual story from the point that we leave this alley all the way to the end of our time together. So
Wait till he's done
hopefully
telling you.
we will actually go through that spirit box that he's got, and it'll give us terms relative to that dueling story, very specific details. Now, it's just weird that we get the terms sometimes back at the Pinckney Mansion site. We've been seeing that a lot more lately. Like last night, my daughter actually had his birthday show up on this guy. So again, it's something we commonly get when we're closer to that space. What do you got?
When you said, like when you were talking about we're about to get out of the alley, it said where. I got a ton of junk. Jim running quickly, go, Blaze, Bloom, DNA, Strange, Mattress, Ants, Kind, Blair, and yeah.
Yeah, there probably wouldn't have been a gym. They would have definitely went by James. So, as we exit the alley, Erica, I want you to stop your video because we're going to be cutting through a neighborhood.
Okay.
So, just kind of keep that in mind. You're kind of out of the game for a little while. So you know.
Not even numbers.
What,
Not even
honey?
numbers.
I
Pardon me.
was having a harder time breathing over here.
Okay.
Is that anything, or is it just like the
It could just be you.
what?
It could just be you being sensitive.
Yeah, so they're tourists just taking pictures. So again, we don't want to look like bloggers out here. All right, have you heard anything along the way?
No.
No. Okay. So
People and
yeah, we had the word coastal, so we are still on the coast. It actually gave us the river on the
Okay.
coast, last night, so I'm going to see if that actually shows up again tonight, which is pretty interesting because it is the Cooper River. We just discussed Coopers, barrel
Okay.
makers. So,
Okay.
but this alley behind me is Philadelphia Alley. So every tour comes down here. It's kind of a staple for Charleston.
Okay.
But I tell this story a little bit differently just because you're ghost hunting. It's not just a campfire ghost story. You need a little bit more detail so you know what the hell you're listening for. So this is where the duels used to occur for the city of Charleston. Not all of them, but some of them. So
What happened?
duels.
Duels.
So like guys that took 10 paces, turned and shot, tried to shoot each
Yeah,
other.
our
It
ancestor
just
was
said
the first
detail.
duel
Mm,
in America.
wow. Who was that?
Doty? Edward Doty?
That actually sounds really familiar.
It just said detail. I don't know. Which one?
Did it really?
Right after you said detail.
Interesting.
Which one to give the detail?
Real-time moments. You can't make them up. But anyway, we all tell the story of one specific duel because we can actually prove that it happened.
Okay.
And these were real people, so that's why we're here. So, here's how the story goes. There's a doctor that moves down here from Rhode Island. His name is Joseph Brown Ladd. He moves down here because his fiancée Amanda just inherited a bunch of money from her dead parents. She has an attorney helping her out with all of that cash. The attorney thinks that the doctor's just after Amanda's money. So he tells Amanda to get rid of the doctor. So Dr. Ladd then moves to Charleston to prove that he's not after Amanda's money. So as he's coming into town, the coachman set him up to be robbed and killed.
Oh.
So it wasn't a very good start to his stay here. But somebody was walking by. His name was Ralph Isaacs. I stop on Ralph because Ralph has the same initials as where the doctor came from. R.I. shows up here all the time. So we just need the secondary clue so we know who it belongs to. Two different characters. But anyway, Ralph tells the doctor, I know this guy, and you don't want to stay here. He's going to try to kill you. So I got some friends at 59 Church Street. You can stay there, rent a room, and you'll be good to go. The doctor takes him up on the offer, and they become friends. The longer the doctor stays in Charleston, the more money he's making. Amanda's moving down soon. He becomes known as the Whistling Doctor. Now, every haunted city you'll ever visit in the future has a cliched whistling ghost. There's actually proof that I have of this specific doctor, and we get a lot of proof around this guy, including the whistles. We'll get into that in a minute.
What was his name?
Joseph Brown Ladd. Now,
I got Chat and Jordan after. Maybe we thought we were Jordan.
yeah, I don't know who those people are. Sorry, I always rack my brain because we're like in a very popular story corner, like around this area. So sometimes a term will pop up. That's where I have to look to see if we're gonna break away.
And I shouldn't be reading right now.
No, you're gonna get stuff in the building. Okay. So you should have like a 2 to 4 right now.
6.8.
Okay. Lost my train of thought. Where was I? Oh, the doctor's
The
making more
whistling
money. The whistling
doctor.
doctor guy, right? You got it. So him and Ralph go see plays together because they're still friends. But the doctor makes more money. He gets better seats. They don't sit next to each other when they go see the play. So they talk about these plays on the way home. One night after seeing Richard III from Shakespeare, they're actually arguing over the new actress. The doctor thought she was fantastic. Ralph, not so much. It gets pretty ugly when Ralph starts insulting the doctor's fiancée back home in Rhode Island, and they go their separate ways. But Ralph, being from here, has friends at the newspaper. He puts an ad in the newspaper telling the whole city of Charleston what he thinks of the doctor.
Oh.
The doctor sees the ad and rebuttals with, we're going to go to Dueler's Alley. We're going to settle this. So they're going to come down and somebody's going to die. They come down, take their 10 paces, they turn. The doctor pointed his gun in the air and he shot. He didn't want to kill his friend. He just wanted to have the courage and bravery to show up to the fight. But Ralph has his one shot and he puts it in the kneecap on the doctor. So the doctor drops to the ground. His friends pick him up, carry him home to 59 Church Street where he died 10 days later after refusing medical treatment. The guy's a doctor. He probably tried to bleed out the bullet himself because he was a pretty stubborn guy. So the campfire part of this is that when you walk through the alley, you can hear the whistles from the doctor. But keep in mind, any local knows this story. We all know it. So anybody walking up and down Cumberland or Queen Street on the other side is going to throw a whistle down the alley whenever they pass by it. I do it every single night. We end right there. My garage is right above that little Scotchman, place over there. So again, I have to pass the alley. I throw a whistle every single night, especially since I got booted out of there. Yeah, but when I used to take people down there, it was a matter of we're using the voice recorder. The spirit box is down. We weren't using earbuds yet, so it was like turn the spirit boxes down, just check the place out. Lots of pictures, lots of video. Let's see what we can capture. So over here, we will hear songs specifically with whistle in it, and it will be only a quick blurb of whistle. Now you guys all of you have seen how fast that thing can move, and it is on its slowest setting. But we'll hear like Guns N' Roses' Patience, which obviously has a lot of whistling in it. The new Maroon 5 song, Moves Like Jagger, like that has whistling in the beginning. We will hear whistling over here, but other clues: kneecap, doctor, medicine, doctrine, Joseph, Brown, all of those little tiny things. 59, because that's where the doctor lived. Like, we get 59 all the time. It's just the weirdest thing. We only get it when we're here or at the next space because we're going to be relatively close. So, here's how you got booted out of here. This is the fun part. The alley.
You're whistling at people?
Well, notice when I told you, like, we're not going to be recording as we cut through the neighborhood. We have boundaries that we're actually allowed to go to.
Oh.
So, I was out of bounds. Here's how. I used to take my people all the way through to show off the bricks on the other side. This alley didn't always come all the way through. This is where they used to keep some of the livestock. So they have it, like, walled in on the side that we're standing on, which means the bricks on the other side are older. Those bricks are sun-dried bricks from slave children. There's a full handprints and fingerprint swipes in those bricks. I'm sure you guys picked up that I'm all about the history. So I would take my people there to show them the handprints and the fingerprints to show how far we've come away from slavery. So it's a reminder. However, everybody wants to put a spirit box or an EMF meter near it, trying to get a reading,
Right.
and I treat it the same way you do a grave. That kid's not staring at that brick in the afterlife. So, one night, November 26th of 2020, my entire group decided they're going to huddle around that brick and try to get a reading. It's outside a gentleman's dining room window of his beautiful mansion. He come out screaming. My daughter thought it was hilarious because Dad's getting yelled at, and we moved on. The next day was Thanksgiving. I worked in retail for over 20 years, as you guys know. I finally took a Thanksgiving off. I'm sure you can appreciate that. The next day was November 28th. Yes, these dates are relevant. I got a phone call from the tourism office asking me to either go down halfway, which is what we're allowed to do based on the ordinances, or to reroute my tour. I didn't think it was fair for my groups of 10 to try to work around 20 to 60. We're actually allowed to go to 20. I just won't do it. It's no fun for you guys. Not to mention, I still out of 10, 99% of the time. Based on what you guys see here, you probably don't believe that, but I'm normally 9 to 10 people every single night. So I'm going to reroute my tour. I tell them we're going to wing it. I don't believe in the story we're going to be going to, but it's what we have because, and I kind of gave them what happened that morning. I did not tell them who we were going to be investigating. We were going to be investigating female pirate Anne Bonny. Somebody heard the name Anne before I told them that. So I was like, okay, maybe there is going to be something. I'm a vampire guy, not a pirate guy. So I was like, we're going to see what's going on with the pirates here in Charleston. We get up there and somebody else hears the number 300 on another spirit box. Totally different person. I have no idea what it means until I do the research the next day. We were there on November 28th of 2020. Anne Bonny's trial for piracy was November 28th of 1720. We were there on the exact 300-year anniversary of her pirate trial. So I keep taking you guys back up there in hopes that we're going to find more things about this.
Yeah.
This is where the red piece is going to come into play. We're going to be talking about Anne Bonny's hair color. She had red hair. So
I heard red. Did you hear?
she was probably focused
I
on
wasn't
me.
listening. Yeah.
So that's usually what happens. The teenagers focus on that, and then
Okay.
the adults focus on me. Now, what other terms do you have on your word list before we move on out of here? Give me the last 3 things.
Oh, when you were talking, I have 5 things. But should I share them?
Yeah.
Sure.
Enforcement, living, daily, permanent, high school.
What was the other one?
Hudson, right?
Yes.
Oh, you're good.
We're Hudson, Louisiana.
Yeah, we just went to Port Hudson.
Anything,
Excellent, yeah.
anything important? I'm guessing not.
Yeah, nothing specific enough for me. That's actually pretty good too. Like normally,
Oh.
they pack them out to 20 to 22 people.
When I was on there, it gave me birth.
All right.
Probably a common one.
And have you heard anything while we've been here?
Only red when you after you said
Red.
red. Like right before you said.
So we'll see if I spot it in the morning and kind of take it from there. All right, so let's go learn about crazy pirates and see what we got going on, so that way Dad can get back to work. He's dying to put his device back to work.
So when we get back there, I flip up.
Yep. Yeah, we'll talk about the history and then we'll flip it up and see what goes on. It's weird. It's really the only other tourist.
I've seen another one.
You want to switch to
What? Listen on.
Did you hear a number?
I'm the Dr. Jake song.
I heard doctor. We both heard doctor. We both
Was it
heard
King or was
Solomon.
it James?
We're not sure.
Okay.
I heard King.
I
I heard
heard
James.
James.
He has better hearing.
We're gonna go with. It's just weird because
Medicine.
Doctor is obviously relevant to the alley, but
Yeah.
James is relative here. So again, we're on a on a
Honey,
fence.
do you want to
with it.
listen to this?
I was
Enjoy.
just hearing fuzz when I was listening.
You hear fuzz a lot of the time.
But getting the voices in between all that
phrases,
fuzz
yeah.
is where the fun actually begins.
I'm not
Like
getting anything.
everything
Takes
that
the
I've
whole
heard
thing.
that has been relative has been clear.
So back to the little building. The earthquake bolts, the reason I point those out is because those are the first set of earthquake bolts that Charleston put in. This is the oldest government building in
Inspiration.
South Carolina. So again, finished in 1713. So the fact that he keeps hearing the word inspiration, did you hear it too? So we'll kind of see when I'm going through the
I'm
recording
probably a
why it's
bad
coming up so
listener.
much. That's so weird.
She's probably listening more to you because she
I am.
absorbs history. So
We're here because this building is being constructed at the same time that Anne Bonny actually came to Charleston. This is what we call a familiar. So it's like using a toy to attract a child ghost. I'm sure you guys have seen that method used on TV before. Same thing, only we're using a building to attract Anne Bonny to come and chat with us. This is a hit or miss location, but I still kind of give you this crazy pirate story at the end because, again, I had to read a ton of books after that first night. Like,
Yeah.
damn it, I didn't want to do pirates. I wanted vampires. So here's how this goes. A young lady moves here in 1708. Her name is Anne Cormack.
19.
She comes here from Ireland with her father and his mistress. The mistress is Anne's mother. Are you guys with me so far?
Oh. Yeah.
It's a little bit of a twist, and I slowed down on that part so you guys can grab onto it because it gets even worse. The
Okay.
three of them, Anne, her father, and his mistress, are running away from his wife
Oh.
from Ireland to here.
Okay.
So they land in Georgetown. That's just north of here, between us and Myrtle Beach. So
type of power did the wife have?
divorce in Ireland was kind of frowned upon because,
Sure.
I mean, it was a pretty big deal in the early 1700s.
It wasn't like she was a powerful woman that they had to get away from. It was just more of they wanted to
like
get
she would have
divorced.
killed him. Like that's where she would have been at. This was a pretty prominent like family over there in Cork, Ireland, and basically what happened, to give you a little bit more detail of it, was that the wife was always sick. So the husband bought a second home to put her in. So that way every time she got sick, she could go to the second home. Meanwhile, he's having an affair with one of the servants of his original home, which turned out to be pregnant. That's where Anne came from. So when the wife found out about it, it was literally probably a massive shame and all these other things because he was a pretty prominent family.
Should I go through one because it's been a while?
Nope.
Okay.
There's a lot going on with this story, so let me get through it now. Take a
Okay,
look.
I haven't got much.
I know. So, they land in Georgetown. Dad buys a plantation. Mom died pretty quickly, so that means he has
Oh.
to send young Anne down here to be able to sell anything from the plantation to keep things afloat. Now, Anne back home in Ireland was kind of a badass. They say she actually killed one of her servants when she was only 10 or 12 years old
Oh,
with a knife
geez.
to the belly.
Oh my
Yeah. I
gosh.
tell you that so that way you have the mentality of this young lady through the whole story.
What's the pirate in Southport?
She's crazy.
What's the last name of the pirate in Southport? Isn't it Bonnie? B-O-N-N-E-T?
Just that would be
Bonnet.
Bonnet.
Okay.
Fun
Because we
name.
had Steed Bonnet.
Yes. Yes.
Steve Bonnet.
1750?
Yeah, I heard that.
17 what year?
1713.
Oh. Yeah. 1750. We just heard.
No. I
Okay.
got nothing on that one.
All right.
Nothing matches up to 1750. None of the deaths of the pirates I'm about to tell you about match up to 1750.
Okay.
But as far as Steve Bonnet goes, that's a whole other like
Okay.
story that goes on here too, that we will get relative light terms from, but not a whole lot. So we're gonna fast forward. This was finished in 1713. Pirates are coming through town in 1715. At this time, Anne is like 16, 17 years old. Pirates coming through town. She's gonna fall in love. So guy number one. Yes, we're gonna keep track because there's a couple of them.
Okay.
Guy number one turns out to be James Bonny, right? We already had the name James show up, as far as the Dr. James. So we already see where this one's going. She's going to marry this guy, but Dad doesn't approve
Terrorist.
because he's a filthy
What?
pirate. They run away to Jamaica, they get married. That's how Anne Cormack became Anne Bonny. So
Okay.
that's her first husband. So when they get down there, this guy's a privateer. He's a spy for the British. This is not who she wants. He's a coward. So a few years later, she falls in love again. Guy number 2, John Rackham, aka Calico Jack. This is literally the real person that they based your Captain Jack Sparrow Disney character off of. So kind of keep that in mind as we're going through this. Jack has his own ship, and Anne wants to be part of it because she wants her freedom. Can't put a girl on a pirate ship. Does anybody know why?
Too many men.
Bad luck.
Oh.
Oh, right.
So, can't put a girl on the crew, no bad luck. So, he makes a deal with her. If you dress like the crew, you can be part of the crew, meaning she had to hide her gender.
I
She's okay.
remember that story.
She's
Yeah.
okay with this part because Dad used to dress her up as an apprentice boy back home in Ireland to keep her away from his wife. So she's like, whatever, it's a man's world. I want to be a pirate. This is what I have to do. But she's going to be a female in Jack's quarters. So, that being said, let's all put 2 and 2 together. She's eventually going to get pregnant. You can't have a pregnant pirate dude on the crew. Someone's going to figure out that she's a girl, and they're going to basically vote Jack off the ship. So, Jack takes her over to some friends in Cuba. These are friends of mine. Go have the baby, come back later, we'll figure it out. She has the baby, but returns with no baby. We have no idea what happened to the child. The other piece of that is that she's dressed like a female. She doesn't care anymore about hiding her gender, and this makes Jack pretty angry. And while she was away giving birth to his baby, he captured another pirate crew down below deck, and that's where they're being held. So, she is going to go flirting to make him even more mad, because that's what Anne does. Guy number 3. Guy number 3 turns out to be a female dressed like a guy to be part of the pirate crew that Calico Jack just captured.
Say it again.
She's flirting with a female dressed like a guy to be part of the crew that Calico Jack captured.
That's what I heard.
So, yeah, exactly. So now we have 2 females dressed as males trying to be pirates. Her name is Mary Reed. She went by Mark Reed to become a male pirate, to become part of whatever crew she was captured from. But anyway, her and Mary become friends, possibly lovers, we're never going to know for sure, and the British find out where they are. They send their fleet of ships to come take down the one pirate ship, and Anne and Mary are the only 2 pirates not drunk enough to come up and fight with their 1-bullet flintlocks, probably because they don't know how to use the cannon jet. So, obviously they're going to get arrested. And as they're being arrested, she looks at her captain, her beau, Calico Jack, and says, "You should have fought like a man instead of being hanged like a dog." The word dog shows up on the spirit boxes here all the time.
Oh.
Now, the judge, his name is Nick as well. So if you guys hear Nicholas coming out of a spirit box or even up on the word list, it's usually relative to him, not me. He wants to see the 2 men that fought back so violently by themselves after he's tried and hung Calico Jack and the drunk pirates that wouldn't fight. So they're dead and gone. Anne and Mary go in front of him. They reveal their gender. He doesn't care that they're female. He's still going to hang them because they're still pirates. We plead our bellies was the last thing they said because they're claiming to be pregnant. You can't hang a pregnant woman in 1720. It's illegal. So he sends them both back to jail, delays the hanging. Dad is still here in the Charlestown area. He bails out Anne, brings her back home. She remarries. That's husband number 2, but guy number 4, because we're going to count Mary because we don't know, and has 4 kids, dies at the age of 84. Yes, very abrupt ending. No, I bring it on real fast. As far as Mary Reed goes, she died a year later in 1721 from whatever pirates died from in a Jamaican jail. Most things will say fever, that kind of thing, but I'm sure it was scurvious and bumpy and gross.
Yeah.
As far as spirit box questions, I only left out 2 things, because normally by now when I have a group of 10, and most of them have a spirit box, they all know what they're doing with them by now. The 2 things I left out just to get you started, the name of Anne Bonny's parents. Even with the detail that I gave you back home in Ireland, I was very careful not to spill the names. So, I didn't tell you the name of the father and his mistress, and I also didn't tell you the name of Calico Jack's ship. So, take that for what it's worth. We're going to be...
I have a name that I didn't hear, so I went to. No.
What name?
Derek.
No.
Okay.
It's,
A little too modern for my taste. Now, with your device, Tim, you're going to pull up and get that REM pod started, and you're going to ask Anne Bonny to have you show you her hair color. Because again, getting a red reading out of it, you have to touch it in order for it to do that. Remember, it's on the spine? There you go. So whenever, if you're going to ask her what her hair color is, hopefully we get red out of it, because again, it's a rarity to actually see that.
Anne Bonny, what is the color of your hair?
I'm going to turn this guy back on, and we're going to actually head up towards that wall.
Do you hear pirate?
Erica, if you guys wanted to get footage of the front of the powder magazine, you can. The only thing
Okay.
I ask is because all the other tours like to go up there, like the one that's passing by, they were
Yeah.
just standing in front.
I
Just
got
kind of wait
like
your turn.
one.
Yeah, I'm going to go sit on that wall and you're going to show me while I let this guy run, because I don't think we got a chance to use this last night because my daughter got sick. I sent her back to the car. So,
Anne Bonny, what is the color of your hair?
I can almost
What's the and Bonnie? What's the color of your hair?
And what is the color of your hair?
I don't.
I heard Barley so far next to me.
Yeah,
Yes. Exactly.
I heard that too. I don't know if that means anything. Say,
I need to sit down.
what is your name? I said, hello, my name is.
What is your name?
Who is going to make more money? Who's going to make more money?
And what did you name the child? And what did you name the child?
I think she's wearing a pirate hat.
Yes, she is. I was looking at her. That's so weird. That's ironic.
Or maybe it's a tour and they try to find Anne. Anne Bonnie?
Can I sit down over there?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I've had a stomachache all day.
It's fine. I've been getting eaten alive.
Medicine. What does inspiration mean? Please explain inspiration. Please explain inspiration.
soldiers. What's funny is a couple of months ago I had a psychic on the tour, which is odd because I normally don't make it all the way to this part. But that particular psychic, his name was Tom. He kept seeing a soldier over by those bushes over there, but he saw them like wearing like a white wife beater and like navy pants, which to me is weird because this is Confederate state down here,
Right.
so they would have been a gray uniform. It was just very odd. And he was very adamant, like he does not want me here specifically. He knows what I've been doing here. Like and even Tom like kept coming up to me, like giving me messages later on. And it's just weird because that night he actually, my grandmother will hang around all the time. No matter, most of my friends are 70s and 80s. So they will actually tell me things that my grandmother's saying that only my
Yeah.
grandmother would know.
Yeah.
Like speaking in Ukrainian, like those kind of things. Like,
Yeah.
because we're Ukrainian. So again, they will tell me things like, I have no idea what this means, and like Zazemna, I'm like, yeah, it's cold. Like that's what that means, and it would be wintertime, you know. And for us, like, they're like, oh, why do I know that? I'm like, why do I know what that phrase sounds like? Like, I don't know. She's probably telling you it's Zazemna. She said it to us all the time. Like things like that you just like you can't explain it at all. But Tom, he actually gave me a few things that were kind of like different parts of my family.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Bye.
Biblical?
I heard biblical.
You're gonna get a lot of religious terms over here. You
Okay.
guys
Yeah.
never tell me any religious terms at the Pinckney Mansion site or Big John's. You always tell me starting with Philadelphia Alley. Every single night. How-
Midnight?
Midnight.
Is it midnight?
I don't think it is. It's 11. What was the last? You said midnight?
Raising horses or something?
Freezing and horrifying.
I'm not doing anything.
So none of these terms that I'm finding are any kind of relevance at all.
Yeah.
So I say we call it. What do you think?
Okay.
For some reason that grandparents go into, like, there's just something about that.
Afraid.
You had afraid earlier, scared. One of those two.
Yeah.
Alright, go ahead and cut your video. So that's
Okay.
the red square. Get you guys the answers to the 2 measly questions that I gave you.